Here he is. Hey, Joe.
What's up, Doc? How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Well, let me just say again. So I'm Dr. Chapek. I'm one of the naturopathic physicians at Amen Clinics. I've written the book. There we go. Concussion Rescue: A Comprehensive Program to Heal Traumatic Brain Injury. And I'm here with Joe Fauria, otherwise known as Big Joe, and we're going to discuss traumatic brain injuries, healing, and since we just have a short time, let's go ahead and jump into it and tell us about your history of having brain injuries and anything you like about that.
Well, Doc, it's a great question because we come from a different time when I love that we're talking about this. There's a whole month for it, and we're having Instagram lives about it. But there was a time when there wasn't a month for it, and there wasn't Instagram lives even as a thought. So back in the day, it was if you blacked out for a second, if you had a concussion, if you saw stars, and back in the day, it was rub some dirt on it and get back out there.
Not what you want to do. Oh my
so
God.
we are the generation that's now trying to pick up those pieces from before, so that the next generations don't have to suffer and don't have to have any sort of the repercussions that we are having to deal with right now. So talking about it is the most important. But I'll tell you what, I think on paper, I only had like 2 or 3 concussions throughout my whole NFL career. But that's what we think of as a traditional concussion, which is a traumatic brain injury that makes you black out, makes you forget things, makes you sensitive to light, makes you imbalanced, all of those things. I'll never forget my biggest one. But now with my knowledge of traumatic brain injuries now, it's something that I know if you see stars, if you black out for even 0.001 second, that is a traumatic brain injury. And if that were the case, if we are counting that, not just the 3 on paper, but if we're counting that way, I could say there's probably countless, maybe upwards of a few hundred, maybe even 1,000 that I've had in my time playing football professionally, in college, in high school, and even as a child.
Wow. So you've had a number of hits to your brain, and you look fine on the outside. You look very nice, very healthy. I've seen your videos, like you're working out all the time and exercising. But I think I'm curious what your thoughts are. My thoughts are, part of it is that you can't see the brain that's been injured, and therefore we think, well, yeah, rub some dirt on it, get back in there.
Right.
Why do you think there's been a change from that perspective?
Well, I love how you pointed it out, Doc, about how on the outside I'm looking pretty good, but no one knows the actual trauma that's happened to my brain and the repetitive injuries that I've had suffered through. But there was in that relationship to depression, anxiety, and all the things that might come thereafter. Robin Williams, one of my favorites, R.I.P., said this the best: everyone is dealing with something, so be kind always. So regardless of my 6'8" stature and my time in the NFL and what seems like I'm always holding on a smile on my face, there are struggles. There are things that I'm dealing with. There are bits of anger or flashes of forgetfulness and things of that sort that worry me, that worry me about my future. But at the same time, albeit a long career before the NFL of 4 years, I played my whole life, I'm still blessed to have a blessing that came to me that got me out of it. It was a hard blessing that I obviously I wanted to play longer, but looking back at it, I see my friends still playing, still taking big hits, still taking a little bit longer to get up. And I look at that now and I'm like, whoa, that ain't for me. I'm very grateful to not be taking those hits anymore. So I'm 32 years old, and I see my friends in their early 30s, mid 30s, or if you're like Tom Brady in his 60s, you're still taking hits. And those you're just adding and adding and adding to the repetitive trauma. Only gets worse and worse and worse. You're only going to undo that connection between your brain and your skull to have it shake more and more, so it gets looser and looser. So that's why every hit, it just gets worse and worse. Even if it might not be as hard of a hit as the first hit, you're just adding and adding and adding.
That's right. That's right. It's cumulative. You know, it's cumulative. And I'm appreciative of you bringing in the science behind it and thinking about the tau proteins that we know for chronic traumatic encephalopathy. These misfolding of the normal structure of the supporting structure of the neuron starts to get damaged, and you get this chronic inflammation, and the brain doesn't work as well, and it's just sort of this exponential process that unfortunately ends up with, some people end up with chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And hopefully, you know, and so there's that's the bad news, you know, for some of your colleagues. And even if the process has started a little bit for you, we know there's things you can do to divert that process to some degree, and stave it off. And that's what when we think about the brain and we think about dementia is another neurodegenerative process that's similar. There's, you know, at Amen Clinics, we've done some research on football players, retired NFL, and shown that we can actually improve brain function over, you know, 6-18 months of treatment, and actually improve brain function. And so it's not necessarily a one-way street for people who have had brain injuries. I think there's a lot of hope for healing. What are some, I can share my thoughts, but what are some things that have helped you with on your road to recovery and healing?
Well, one being my relationship with the Brain MD products. To be quite honest, there is some sort of, there has to be some sort of connection, because when I started, ever since then, it's only been going in the right direction. Of course, there's bumps in the road, there's speed bumps, and there's obstacles to get over, but it just seems less frequent of taking steps back and more steps forward. And I know that my immediate departure from the NFL was a big struggle. It was something that I something that I couldn't understand. I couldn't wrap my mind around. But then I found, a new passion for wellness, and
Nice.
I promised myself that I would start with a power hour of work for myself every morning. It could be split up in between, like, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and so on, or 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, or 60 minutes, whether it be meditation, journal, push-ups, a little bit of yoga, or whatever that may be, something for me before I looked at my phone. And
before you look at your phone, that's key, isn't it?
Yes, before you look at your phone, because for a few times, I can be very honest, there was times when I told myself I'm going to do this power hour, but let me just see what's going on the Instagram, at 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh, so much is going on so early in the morning, right?
Right.
And there was a moment that I would be like, okay, well, wait, my whole day went by. I'm like, oh, I forgot my power hour. And I would realize this because I would either not eat so good, or I'd be more irritable, or I would get less done, or I would just, sit and watch Netflix all day, because my day started with that blue light in my face, only a few inches from my eyes, getting me away from the things that were for me. So I remember when I moved back from New York, in LA, reinventing myself and finding this wellness aspect of my life, I literally just put a chair next to my bed, promised myself I would just go straight from the bed, sit in the chair, and meditate. And meditation is extremely, extremely scary sometimes. People are like, oh, I don't know how to do it. I'm not good at it. And I can tell you right now, I can lead it, and I can do it all the time right now because I practiced it. And at first I sucked at it too. I would be like opening my eyes a couple minutes in. I'm like, is it done yet? What am I doing? But a few months later, I finally started. I was like, oh, I'm getting deeper. Oh, I was supposed to go for 10 minutes, but it's 30 minutes later. What just happened? Wow. Where did time go? And I got lost in it. And then I realized my mood was better. So all of that, that kind of created this positive snowball effect. If a snowball could go uphill, if you will. And that was the beginning of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the structure was key for you. And I think that's so true. And thinking about that dopamine hit, and we're all after it, you know, and we can, if we reach for the phone, I always think about this. We start the day with our cup of dopamine, basically, which is like excitement, stimulation, motivation. And we can sort of burn through it with entertainment screens, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, or even just search on YouTube. And then, or we can do brain healthy. We need to use it first on, we're going to eat our vegetables first, and then we can have our dessert, you know, use it on our structure, our exercise, nutrition. Because, you know, if we do the games first, we're just going to deplete it and there will be nothing left in the tank. So when it comes to healing the brain, it's really not one thing. It's like, what are the nutrients, the supplements that help decrease inflammation and help with blood flow? You know, we know brain injuries are decreased blood flow. So that's what the BrainMD formulas are about in part. Are you taking the, like the Brain Max or the
Brain Power Max?
Yeah, yeah.
The big pack of pills. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
It's a whole handful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
well, I'm a handful too, so it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good match. And really, you need a lot to help heal the brain, you know, and to keep it functioning well. And so it's nutrients, it's exercise for blood flow, it's meditation for brain training. I love that you mentioned that. It's like helps decrease stress, plus it trains the brain to help the frontal lobe with focus and concentration. So think about sleep, adequate sleep, diet, nutrition is key, you know, protein and vegetables and healthy fats. And
well, you got to think about like this, Doc. I mean, if you're trying to get in shape, or excuse me, I hate that phrase. If you're getting back in the gym and stuff like that, and you want to grow a certain muscle group, or you want to, you know, change your shape in a shape that's more desirable for you to make you more comfortable, you're not going to just do 1,000 push-ups and call it a day every day. You're gonna mix it up. You're gonna do your different body groups. You're gonna do a push day. You're gonna do a pull day. You're gonna do a cardio day. You're gonna do a yoga day. You're gonna do, you know, you're gonna do some boxing. You're gonna do some sports. And the best way to do it is to keep your body guessing. The same thing. And tell me if I'm wrong. The same thing with your brain. You're not gonna just hit it from one angle. You gotta hit it. You gotta use all your tools in your tool belt to attack it and help it heal in the best way.
Yes, 100%. You really need all of them. Because if you just do one, I mean, it's kind of like a barn roof that's leaking. You want to patch as many holes as possible, not just one hole. So I like that you said it that way. That makes a lot of sense. Keep the body guessing.
Yeah,
the body guessing.
that's you know, keep it guessing creates a little bit of a struggle, and I think struggle breeds growth. And I think that's the same for brain and the same for your body. That's the same for your overall goals in life as well.
Absolutely. Anything else you wanted to share about your recovery journey or health or brain health, you know, colleagues in the NFL or?
Oh, well, as a matter of fact, I mean, this was a while ago, and it kind of connects to what I'm doing now, because I lost sight of it a little bit when I had to be a little selfish. I had to kind of reevaluate my own goals and my own journey. About 8 years ago, when I was still in the NFL, I was very interested in this. And I had no idea what a traumatic brain injury was when I was in college. But then it got brought to my attention with some people in Detroit when I was in the Lions. Then in my second year, I got attached to this group, this company, this organization that paired, you know, NFL veterans and with combat veterans, and all that had suffered through traumatic brain injuries. And there was a moment where it was a really rewarding moment where I think it was the month of the military month, if you will. And I had a suite with my family, and instead of inviting my family, I had a few friends that came by, and I had like 4 spots for these four gentlemen from this organization. And 2 of them were football players and 2 of them were combat veterans. One of them, in fact, actually had a big German Shepherd with him. And after the game, he had told me, he's like, I want to thank you so much. I've never been able to sit through an entire game. and it really shook me. He's like, I
Yeah.
tried a couple times, I couldn't ever get past the first quarter. The noise, the people, the loud, the loud banging, all that type of stuff, gotten to the point where he had to leave every time. So this was his first time where he was in a comfortable scenario in the suite where he, was with people he loved. It wasn't too loud, it wasn't too packed, and he was very comfortable. And I got to talk to all those guys after, and they told me how much similarities they had in what they did, and how how lucky they were to have been paired together. And it was really rewarding, and it kind of got me comfortable with talking about it and realizing how much of an impact it is and how important this topic is. So I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, if the more we talk about it, the more we lift the stigma about it and the misunderstanding about it, and realize that more people than just combat veterans and football veterans do suffer through this.
Right. There's a lot of folks who have had car accidents, slipped on the ice, and their lives are changed after these head injuries. And it's difficult because they think, well, I didn't lose consciousness, so it must not have been that bad. They went to the ER, they got an MRI. You're fine. You're going to be fine. But then a week or two later, they're not. Like, there's this pastor that I knew. He was in a car accident, and they told me he was fine. And 2 weeks later, he couldn't write a sermon. He was just completely, his memory and his focus, he couldn't do it. And there can be delayed symptoms. Symptoms can start several weeks later, progress over months, and it can affect anyone, and you can't tell the difference. So at Amen Clinics, we do imaging work, of course, so we can detect more subtly brain injury on scans. Spect Imaging is a type of blood flow study, different than an MRI. MRIs and CTs are really important too, but blood flow studies like Spect can really pick it up more sensitively. We need to collect more data. For example, these veterans that you talked about, thinking about them a lot lately with the war that's going on in Ukraine. The impact of concussive blasts to the brain will penetrate deeply and cause pituitary damage, hormonal damage, and so oftentimes there will be decreased testosterone, growth hormone that will cause many of the same symptoms as concussions will. Low energy, focusing problems. There's a study done, Dr. Kevin Ewan up here, when he was up here in Seattle, studied football players, retired and active NFL, and found that about 28% of them had low growth hormone and low testosterone based on their, these huge guys like you, they're muscular and strong. You think about these Hercules, but they had low testosterone, low growth hormone because of brain injury. That's one of the other pieces of the puzzle to think about. So in any case, lots of facets to this.
We could go on for hours.
We could. So thanks so much for spending time talking with me about this, and anyone who's joined, share the word about this is TBI Awareness Month, and I'm Dr. Chapek at Amen Clinics, Brain MD, and this is Joe Fauria. Big Joe, thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day and a good weekend.
Thanks, Doc. I appreciate this. This is very important. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Talk to you later.
Bye.